500 calories. If you were to eat a green salad, has anyone ever measure calories? How much green salad could you have 500 calories?
A lot.
You just can't put the dressing on it.
Exactly. You can put vinegar, you can put a little oil. But you know, if you add avocado or something to it, then that's going to add a lot of calories. But it takes a lot of salad to get 500 calories.
4 big packages.
Yeah.
A whole big package,
Right.
More than that.
So you know, you could have a smaller amount and then add cucumbers and peppers and you know whatever stuff to, and that's 5 days in a row, once a month. You do something like that. I had someone else do bone broth. He eats he likes broth, so he just does a bone broth for 5 days, once a month. Yes.
I heard that the bone broth stuff's kind of like super glue for your body, just like gets the stuff all back together.
Well, if you think of what it's made of, you put, I make my own, so I put like a fourth of the pot is filled with bones, and then water, and you just boil the bones for days. So what's in it? Well, all the connective tissue, everything that is connective tissue, like super glue, he's saying. All of the stuff that your connective tissue is made of, that's what you're getting in the bone broth. So.
Do you drink that unlimited when you go on the fast?
Pretty much, you can. Yeah.
Chicken bowl?
I've done chicken, beef. I've had people come in and they say that they'll go to the store and get fish bones and they'll make fish. I had one guy. This is a funny story. So this guy came into me and he was a little overweight and he had high blood pressure, diabetes, and sleep apnea. They wouldn't give him a driver's license, a commercial driver's license, because of the risk. So he said, I got to get my unlimited commercial license, so I got to get rid of these things. So if you put him on medication, they give him a limited license where it's only good for, I forget, 4 months or something like that. So he didn't want that. He wanted the full, annual thing. So I said, okay. So I gave him options, and he chose the bone broth option. So for 30 days, he did nothing but drink bone broth. And he blogged the whole thing, so he says, I'm not going to call you, Jill, just go on my blog if you want to see how it is. So I did, and he had 3 crock pots going, a beef crock pot, a chicken crock pot, and he called me and asked me if a ham bone was okay. I said, yeah, put a ham bone in. So he had them all going at the same time, always hot. So in the morning, he'd get up and he'd take his thermos, he'd go, I feel like beef today. So he'd take the beef. And then he'd pour water to fill it up again, and then he'd go off to work and whatever, come home and have some more. So in 30 days, he lost 33 pounds. He had no diabetes. His tests were absolutely normal. He had no high blood pressure, and he didn't have sleep apnea anymore. So he was able to get his license, and I've talked to him since then. It's been about 5 years, and he's still on it. And every once in a while, he does the bone broth again. But he needed, immediate results, and he got them in 30 days. So that kind of thing is possible. What we were told in medical school, don't fast, is exactly the opposite. There is nothing, because all of our diseases today, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, metabolic diseases, are all diseases of too much. The single best thing we could do is fast, by far. And if you want to be healthy, fast. That's pretty much what all the research is showing. Yes?
Do you know how people say when you fast, it slows down your metabolism? And
Yes.
You gain weight?
Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Okay.
So, thank you for asking that. So, has anyone ever heard that?
Could you repeat that?
Yeah. That when you fast, it slows down your metabolism.
Your body keeps itself.
And then, because you're in a starvation mode, and then you gain weight more easily. Okay. I'm going to tell a story. This is good. So, this is a true story. A man in Scotland in 1968 weighed 477 pounds. He went to his doctor and he said, I am so sick of I can't even do anything, I can't even function. I've tried every diet known to man, nothing works. I am just not going to eat until I weigh 180 pounds. So that's about a 300-pound weight loss, right? So his doctor said, you'll die. It says right here in the medical textbook, if you fast more than 10 days, you'll die. So he said, I don't care, I'd rather be dead. So the doctor convinced him, because he didn't want to see him die, to go in the hospital. In those days, we used to be able to admit people for observation, right? They just lay in a hospital bed. That was observation. Can't do that anymore. So he did. He laid in the hospital bed for 14 days, 2 weeks. He was in the hospital bed, drinking water only. Water, 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 water. And he said, you know what? I feel better after 14 days. I'm out of here. And he left. And he came back to his doctor. They did blood draw periodically to check out his electrolytes and all that stuff. He's drinking water the whole time. Okay. So, how long did it take him to lose 300 pounds?
A year?
Couple months.
A year. A year. Water only for a whole year. Yeah, water only. So at his 1 year anniversary, he drank water. And then 18 days later, he was down to his 180 pounds. So it was a little over a year and 18 days. And so then the Journal of Postgraduate Medicine went back to look him up. From the United States, they flew to Scotland to look him up after 5 years. How much do you think he weighed after 5 years?
400 pounds?
Off the diet.
400.
He's eating regular food now. He weighed 180 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. So why didn't he gain it back? Why does every diet program that we do, people, they had this really cool head-to-head, the Dean Ornish diet versus the Atkins diet, and they just followed them over for weeks, and they lost weight and all that. When they went off the diet, what happened? They gained it all back +4. It wasn't just gain it all back, it's exactly what she's talking about. +4, why?
Because he went back on the fasting when he needed to?
No. What happens with fasting that doesn't happen with dieting is you actually shrink the stomach down. You actually shrink it down. So the normal stomach is the size of your fist. The average American is about 2 liters.
Wow. Oh my God.
So if you ever talk to somebody who can eat a half a pizza and drink a liter of beer, yeah, that's pretty much what the size of the stomach is. That's what the size of their stomach is. So you shrink the stomach, you change the leptin. The leptin is the hormone in your brain that tells you when you're not hungry anymore, and you get resistant to it when you eat a lot, when you have a lot of fat on your body. So he lost all the fat, and now he's super sensitive to leptin, so he eats a little bit and goes, I'm done. But you're right, it's all about the food. It's still all about the food. But he just eats less now because he's not as hungry as he was. Because his leptin actually works now. It wasn't working before. Yeah.
Did he have any kind of like activity in his lifestyle? Like, was he doing anything, or was he just like sitting like most of the time? Oh, so he's sitting. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to know.
He wasn't doing a whole lot. No, he wasn't.
That documentary, The Science of Fasting, Dr. Longo comes out in that. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, Dr. Longo, I
It's
haven't
on
seen
Prime.
it.
It's really interesting. It's The Science of Fasting.
Yeah, Dr. Longo wrote a book called The Longevity Diet, and I recommend it for anybody. It's actually really good. He has a pack called a Prolon. Oh yeah, you have a Prolon.
Yeah, I
Okay.
like to watch him.
You've
It's
done
on
it.
YouTube also. There's
Yeah.
a lot of interesting YouTube videos.
Yeah, so what it is 5 days of little packets of food. So you get 5 boxes of food. This is your whole day's supply of food today, and it's got like minestrone soup and tomato soup and some olives, and you've done it, right?
I did
Snacks.
for 1 day. I couldn't do it because they gave me a lot of gas. So I couldn't do it. But I have been fasting a lot. Actually, I lost weight after I saw that documentary.
Yeah.
I've been fasting a lot.
There is nothing better for Americans who, because we have an abundance of food, nothing better than fasting. And for 100 years of research, that's pretty much what's been shown. Now, so how do you fast? How would you do that?
Don't eat.
Stop eating.
That's the easiest way. Just don't eat. Well, see, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Ruby.
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 So Ruby had a pack of food. There was it's a fast mimicking diet. So she can eat just this much every day, and it's all pre-arranged and spelled out. And this is all, and that's a fast mimicking, what they call it, what Dr. Longo calls it, and that works just fine. It works just fine. And I tell people all the time, yeah, do that if you need some organization to your food, fine. But if you're okay with the bone broth, making your own bone broth, just drinking that, that's okay too. If you like having a green salad every day, just one green salad every day, that's fine. That works too. So I'll get you just one rat study, okay? So these rats were given insulin until their blood sugar was low, and it was like 40. And they kept their blood sugar low, so the rats are all, they're laying around, they're hating life. They probably have migraine headaches because their blood sugar is so low. On the 4th day, these rats are up, running around, they're on the treadmill, they're doing all this stuff, and just acting like normal rats again. So they check their blood sugar, it's still 40. So they have low blood sugar, and they're all running around like normal rats. What the heck? So they did a biopsy of their blood-brain barrier, and they found that there were 10 times the number of glucose transport proteins that pull the sugar out of the blood and into the brain. 10 times. How long did it take?
Just the 4 days?
4 days. Yeah. And that's pretty much what happens to everybody. So if you've ever fasted, your first day is horrible. Ugh. Low blood sugar, hypoglycemia. This is awful. This is terrible. I'm never going to do this again. And then the second day is not much better. The third day, some people feel better by the third day. Yeah.
What is it when you wake up the next day after a fast and you don't feel hungry at all? Why is that?
That's great. Okay. What that means is that you're using fat for energy. So what happens is some people switch really easily from sugar burning to fat burning. You know, the sugar starts dropping low and they just instantly switch to fat burning and they're off running. And they're not hungry because they're burning fat. So they're not on a sugar burning diet so that they don't make the insulin, because the insulin causes you to get hungry, and they're not making ghrelin and all of that. So that's actually a good sign. You had a question? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
I'll take that question.
Okay.
So obviously not eating is good, and it just makes sense that you wouldn't eat junk food. But is there some study that says it doesn't really matter what kind of food you eat, whether it's junk or good, and just don't eat a whole lot?
You know what?
Not that I want to eat junk food. I'm just asking.
I hate to say this, but actually there is. And the research pretty much shows that if you fast periodically, you can eat junk food and it won't make any difference. So remember the getting enough nutrition without getting too many calories. So if you eat high nutrient, low calorie foods, then you're going to get a lot of nutrition and not too much calories. So that's ideal. But you know what? Forays into junk food are not going to hurt you if you're fasting periodically. That's pretty much what the research shows. Yeah. You like that, huh? Well, you know what? You have birthday parties you go to, you know? It's like, what's really cool about that is that you don't have to be the odd man out at the party, you know? No, I can't eat any of this food, or something like that. You can still participate, and then
Flexibility is key.
go home and fast. Yeah, gives you flexibility. Okay, so aging is all about metabolism, and if you're producing oxygen-free radicals, then you're aging. Whenever you're burning energy, you're creating oxygen-free radicals. So you want your metabolism. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name.
Me?
Yeah.
Sophia.
Sophia. Okay. Sophia asked the question, well, what about when you fast, it lowers your metabolism? That's what you want. The lower the metabolism, the fewer oxygen-free radicals you make, the less damage you do to your DNA, and the longer you live. The less cancer you make, the less heart disease.
What about when you do fast, some people get like migraine headaches, they feel really bad.
Hypoglycemia.
But that'll pass.
Yes. Yes, it takes about 4 days, remember? That was the rat study. 4 days, and pretty much, I had somebody that took 9 days, but he was cheating. That's he wasn't fasting, he was cheating. So the other half of this is exercise. How much exercise do you want to do?
Enough.
Thank you. The least amount you could get away with. Isn't that weird? Marathon runners are not healthy.
No.
Did you know that? They're not healthy. They make a lot of oxygen-free radicals. They're so full of inflammation, and often they don't become anabolic and they don't repair. But if you cleanse out all those oxygen-free radicals, it actually is fine. You can do exercise, but really a heavy exercise program is not that good for you. Yes.
So building a lot of muscle mass to strengthen your bones really isn't a great thing to do as well.
Well, that's where Ruby was getting into enough. That was the perfect word, enough.
Because I had a guy the other day that had cardiomegaly hypertrophy. He's only 38 years old, left ventricular hypertrophy.
Yeah. So what she's talking about is
big muscle.
people that do a lot of strengthening exercises. They build muscle. Their heart gets super thick and small, and it's just like boom, 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 and it makes their ventricles really small, so that when they stop exercising, they have this floppy, teeny heart that doesn't really work very well, and it causes congestive heart failure. Okay, so then let's talk about the marathon runner. They get these large, thin hearts that are like, they pump once a minute, boom, 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 like that. And then when they stop exercising, they get this large, floppy heart that doesn't empty all the way, and then they get congestive heart failure. So what's the ideal? Something in between, exercise. So exercise is really important, but enough is great, and still you can get too much. People forget about marathon, where it came from. Does anyone know the story of marathon?
Yeah.
Agreed.
He had to run back. He had to warn Persians were coming.
That's it. No, there was a soldier. There was a war in Sparta, right? Sparta?
It's a marathon.
What?
It was at marathon. I think it's
in Sparta in Greece. Okay, so they won the war, and they had to let the leaders know that they won the war, and they didn't have telephones in those days. So they sent a runner 26.2 miles to tell the leaders that we won the war, so that they wouldn't send the troops out and have them get killed. So after the 26.2 miles, he said, "We won the war," and fell down dead. Forget about that.
He wasn't fasting, was he?
Okay, so keeping a good metabolism is very important. Getting enough exercise. Things like yoga, non-stress exercises are great. Walking is good. Bicycles are really good. Using your muscles, building enough muscle without overdoing it is actually really good for you. It's really interesting. Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he was Mr. Universe and when he was the governor, he had the same body mass index. Did you know that? He had the same body mass index. The weight to size ratio. Just a different type of body. Okay. So there was one. Okay. The last thing is the most important thing. This is the most important thing. You can undo any great program if you're stressed. You could have the perfect diet, the perfect exercise. You can be getting all the vitamins you need, but if you're stressed out, guess what? You destroy everything. You can still get cancer. You still get heart disease. Your blood pressure is still elevated because those adrenal hormones, these hormones, are catabolic hormones. They will break you down faster than you could ever build up. And if you have high stress hormones, that's this one right here, then you're not going to be making these. You don't get into an anabolic state if you're stressed. Yes?
What happens when you have low cortisol?
When you have low cortisol, then you sleep and you can't wake up.
I know, but it's so fatigue. I mean, how
Yeah.
does it happen to you? I mean,
Well,
is there something that you're doing that makes that happen?
yeah, that's a totally different issue. Okay, so that is long-term stress, which most often I see comes from irregular cycles. People who they're not on a sleep-wake cycle. So we have a circadian rhythm, and if we're like switching our circadian rhythm all the time, I'll go to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning today because I have to study late or stay up late, and then tomorrow I'll go to bed at 7 o'clock, and there's just no regular cycle, or a lack of sleep, especially people who they don't sleep well, then their adrenal glands will poop out. So that's often different issues, but that is ultimately a stress problem too, because not sleeping. People who are on shift work, for example, they don't go into anabolic mode at all. They've studied ER doctors and police officers, people that do shift work, and it's not healthy. It's for that same reason, for what you're talking about. So stress is really important. How do you lower stress? You can't. Stress is part of life. All you can do is manage stress. So how do you manage stress?
Relax, meditate.
Yoga, relax, meditate. What?
Meditation.
Meditation is actually really good. Taking some time out for yourself to meditate when you're alone during the day is an excellent way. Exercise is actually an excellent way, yes?
Get rid of your debt.
Get rid of your debt. Okay.
Personal bank.
That would be stress management, yeah. So learning how to manage stress is by far more important than all of the other things we've talked about. But I hope I've given you some ideas on how to really be healthy instead of just popping pills. And I'm talking about vitamins as well as drugs. Did we talk about all the vitamins? Oh, the 3 vitamins everybody should take that you can't get from food. Vitamin D was one, selenium, and iodine. Because they're not in the food. And I do a lot of testing, and I find the majority of Americans are deficient in chromium too.
You said selenium and what else?
Selenium, iodine,
Oh, iodine.
chromium, vitamin D. So that's 4. Yes.
So I'm huge on iodine, but she always tells me that I get enough of it in my salt. So there's a chance for me to prove her wrong. So
Well, they used to put it in salt, but now all of the salt that you get that's in whatever restaurant food, canned food, anything you have up here that has salt in it, there's no iodine. Sea salt has none in it. Himalayan salt has none in it. Kosher salt has none in it. So unless it says iodized salt, iodine added, it has 0.
nice.
And then when you're getting the iodized salt, because they tell us don't use, so that's the weird thing, right? They tell us, okay, we're going to put iodine in the salt. So when you put salt on your food, then you'll get iodine, right? And then they say, don't put salt on your food. Go figure. Yes?
So the other 2 things besides D, you can't really get D with food, you have to get.
No, because our soils are deficient in especially those 2 minerals, and the plants don't need them to function. So they're not, the plants have no enzymes that use those minerals, but we need them. Yes.
Recommend Brazil nuts for selenium?
Brazil nuts are great for selenium. Here's the problem I have with them. If they don't come from Brazil, they don't have selenium in them.
Okay.
And so when they all came from eastern Brazil, they were great because they all had a lot of selenium. Like you could eat 2 nuts a week and that was plenty. But these days you never know where your nuts come from. Sorry, I'll end on that.
I'm trying all of Alex Jones' products right now.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Saunders. That was some really, really good information, a lot of stuff that I'm sure that we're all going to take back and use. Now, is Dr. Saunders going to be at this event 1 to 4 on the 21st?
Yes, we roped him into it.
Thank you.
I'll do it,
Thank
but I
you.
won't enjoy it.
Really good.
Too much stress.
And
Too
so
much
nice,
stress.
so nice to see somebody get up here and not use technology, but just talk to us. Thank you for that. Very nice. So, okay, the 21st, they'll be back here
Yep, we'll be
And-
sending out an email.
of July,
Yep.
okay? And then August, probably toward the end of the month, June, July, August, will be Linda Pliagas' event here, more than likely. So just kind of check in and see what's going on. Thank you all very much for being here and doing this. Thank you.